Hello and welcome back to the Metamystic Show. It's great to have you guys as always. Today we're going to be talking about being your own worst enemy and how to escape that. This is one of the biggest things I have faced in my life. This is one of the biggest challenges I've had to overcome and am overcoming today as we speak. For whatever reason, this morning, I think it's because of the holidays. It's Thanksgiving tomorrow. You know, there's a lot of disagreement from my family towards me and the way that I'm living my life. For those of you who don't know, I was a minister, a Christian minister for 10 years. My parents are both ministers. I grew up a Christian, and then at the end of 2021, my faith completely deconstructed when I had a spiritual awakening. I had my own ministry that I built from the ground up. I heard a voice that I do believe was an angel that spoke to me so clearly that it was audible. It wasn't just like, oh, I heard it in my intuition. I had a feeling. I knew I had to make a change. It was an audible voice that spoke to me and said, in kind of a brisk tone, with an authoritative voice, stop doing prophetic ministry. It was such a, I don't want to say scary, but it was such an overwhelming presence that I actually remember standing up from my chair in the living room, going and laying on my bed and just laying there in silence. Because it was like a tower moment. It was like this earth-shattering, it wasn't just the words. It wasn't like, oh, wow, I guess I'm going to stop doing what I've been doing for the past, really 15 years. Because before I had my own ministry, before I worked with my parents for 7-8 years, I had always been involved with the churches that we were a part of. And it was my identity. Right? It wasn't like, oh, I'm a Christian. It was, I am here on this planet to save souls, right? It was old Southern revival, sort of a lifestyle I was living, to the point where I would go up to people in Walmart. I remember I went up to a guy at the mall. I was an evangelist. I went up to people and I said, I would know things about them, and I would share and I'm not saying that was wrong, because I have those spiritual gifts. I know things about people, and I'm getting to my point. I'm giving kind of a background to what I'm about to say. So, for example, I went up to this guy in the mall and I started, I had this whole download about who he was. He was somebody that was working with people that had disabilities, and I started speaking to him about how much it means to God, the work that he does, and that he's seen, he's recognized. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing that I was doing in the past, but the presentation, the way that I was going about it, I was an evangelist. And I used my spiritual gifts in order to, quote unquote, save souls. My main mission in life was to get as many people saved as possible. I woke up every single day feeling like, if I do not wake up today and make a difference in this world, people's blood is on my hands. And I know that that's that's an intense way to live your life. And that is the way I lived my life since I was a child. Since I was a child. I remember looking up into the sky when I was 2 years old and thinking about the concept of eternity. I remember asking my father, what is forever? I was terrified by the idea of forever. I didn't understand how we could just keep living and living and living and living and living, and our souls continued to go on and on and on. I wrote a song. I'll put it down in the description. I know I have it recorded online. I think it's on my Missy music channel. But I wrote a song about this exact story that I'm talking about here, where I looked up into the sky. And I was honestly terrified as a young child, thinking about how eternal we are. So I came into this planet like pretty intense, right? So our first card is this Nine of Wands. And now I'm going to segue back into like why I'm saying all this, because that is how I was known. Everything that I just described to you, my personality, the things I would do, the evangelism that I took place in, like I had no shame. I would just go up to people because I'm like, this is my mission in this life. My life is not about my ego. My life is not about what my desires are and what I want. Like, my life is to be here to serve God. That is how I live my life. So, with all that said, this morning, thinking about that tomorrow's Thanksgiving, I've been estranged from my family. I'm not going to go deep into that, but family was my identity. Family was my life, as was my faith. My faith in my family, right? Cancer South Node, you know what I'm saying? That was my entire life. So at the end, and I'm not saying I didn't question my faith along the way. Back when I was 18, I actually briefly became an atheist when I had kind of an earlier deconstruction, quote unquote, or deconversion back then, when I deeply challenged my faith, and it was because of my sexuality. This was at a time when my family just did not accept me at all, back when I was dating my ex from Louisiana, and I went and lived out there for a little bit. And when I was with her, it was like my family like just didn't love me anymore, and I'm just going to keep it brief. I couldn't, and this is not just about my sexuality. I identify as queer. It's yeah. Sorry, I gotta pause for a second on that. Nine of Wands. This is how I've felt for many, many years. I felt like I've been fighting for my life. And I really do mean that. And anybody here that relates, you feel like you've been fighting for your life, you know, it's an energetic thing. And we're going to get to the Five of Wands that we have down here. But the Nine of Wands is a card of the wounded warrior. It's not just somebody who's like going out to fight. Like, he's been out there. He's been on the battlefield. He's been fighting. I personally feel like I came into this life fighting. And I'm not trying to be negative, or I'm not trying to invite a bunch of people to be victims in my comments. That's not what I'm inviting. I'm inviting vulnerability, honesty, and actually looking at our demons and facing those things. It's like, why did I feel like I couldn't record this episode today, and why I have fought with myself over the past 2 years since my spiritual awakening. You can see that I have 2 full seasons of this show. I started it on a separate YouTube channel. I literally made my tarot and my podcast separate because I thought that I was only going to be talking about Christian deconstruction, and I didn't think that the tarot community would be interested in that. So I separated the two, and I went back and forth on it. And now here I am combining everything, but that took me 2 years to get to this point because I segregated my own sides of my personality. I can't even explain to you how many times I went back and forth in my head. When I actually first started my podcast, the OGs, if there's anybody out there who saw me when I first started doing tarot readings in my podcast back at the end of 2021, I actually wore something that covered up my eyes because I didn't want to reveal my identity. There is a guy who does something similar that I had the idea to do something like what he is doing way, way better. And shout out, I think his name is Prophet of Zod. Anyways, that's more in the like Christian deconstruction community. But regardless, it's like I felt like I had to conceal my identity. When I first started doing tarot, I felt like the Christian mafia was gonna come get me. 9 of Wands. Look at how he looks. Look at his stance. He's in fight or flight mode. I mean, this guy looks like he has CPTSD, which I do. Hello, hi, everybody. I struggle on a daily basis, but the reason why I'm here talking about this stuff is not so that people are like, wow, that's too bad. That sounds like a hard life to live. No. 9 of Wands is a card of never giving up. I have never given up, and I know that there are many of you listening right now and watching that relate to this energy. 9 of Wands, he may look like that, but on the inside, you know what he really feels like? And this is our next card, the King of Wands. Inside, this man is a king. Inside, this man is a lion. Inside, this man will never give up. He will go out on the battlefield and he will pull his brothers he will pull people out of the line of fire. It's like the 9 of Wands is actually one of the best cards to me in the deck, because this, to me, is what separates the men from the boys. If you want to do something in life, it's not about being the most talented. It's not about being the most attractive. It's not even about being the most charismatic or the most interesting. It is about when everybody else gives up, you didn't, right? Because if you're still working on something 10 years later and 7 years ago, we lost 3/4 of the group, who's left standing? That's what separates the men from the boys, is the 9 of freaking Wands, dude. That you never give up no matter what. Even if you are crawling forward to the finish line, you're barely making it over the finish line. That is this energy. Okay. Now, how do we let's talk a little bit about this. How do we achieve this energy? Because it's not just about being like a masochist, right? It's not about like being a martyr, which I was years ago. That was my ideology. I thought that I was just here to kind of be, you know, like abused by God and society, essentially. I'm persecuted for my faith. It's like, dude, you're not being persecuted for your faith. People don't like when you are preaching at them like that. That's why I started off the episode with, like, when I used to evangelize, I've always had spiritual gifts. I've always known things about people. I've always had dreams about things. I've always known things 10 years ahead of time. I have about a 10-year reach when it comes to, like, projecting the future. I've found that my 10-year projections have come to pass, and there are many, many people from my past that have also confirmed to me that things that I talked about many years ago did eventually come to pass. Regardless, it's not about... Okay. I don't want to get too off track here. I want to stay on my point, because my main point in this episode is this card, 9 of Wands. This is the overall message of this episode. If you want to do something in your life, if you even just want to be a person, this isn't even about like, oh, I want to achieve all these amazing things. For some of us, just getting up and living our lives and just living like a nice day, just having like a nice day, that is a battle for many, many people. Many people have health issues. Many people are struggling with anxiety and depression and CPTSD and bipolar disorder and all sorts of things that make it challenging to operate and function in society. Like, I'm not just talking about on this episode, like, how do we achieve these great things in the world? Abso-freaking-lutely. Like, I know that every single person on this planet is here to reveal God, which is revealing your soul to this planet, revealing it's like we're like fractions, like we're like fragments of all these different sides and parts and and vantage points of God. That is how I see humanity. It's like we are expressions of God. So we're all here to express those different sides. I do believe that. But today I want to talk about like, well, what if we feel like we can't get out of bed in the morning? What do? That brings me to our next card, is the Six of Swords. Today, the Six of Swords is showing up as a form of mental detachment, right? We have a lot of fire here. We have the Nine of Wands. We have the King of Wands, right? The King of Wands is a leader. The King of Wands is a go-getter. The King of Wands is like our solar plexus, the yellow, the I'm going to do this and I'm not even going to know how I'm going to do it. I just know I'm going to show up and I'm going to win. It's just that natural, like it's a primal instinct that we all have within us. We're all the King of Wands. We all have the potential to be leaders in our own right? Even if that's like being a parent or that's being a really, really amazing friend. I mean, fire signs are some of the best friends you can have. They're very loyal, they're fun, they're charismatic, they care about you, right? So regardless, let's get to our third card, which is the Six of Swords, which is a card of quote unquote moving on to calmer shores. It's 12:12 p.m. right now as I'm filming, by the way. When you get on this boat, you're saying, everything that's behind me, I'm saying goodbye. Bye, everything I've ever known. Bye. Goodbye. See you later. Now, that's in a broader scope. The story of the Six of Swords is that this mother and the child got on this boat, and they're being led by this guide to a better life. It's kind of like an immigrant, like somebody who's leaving one place and going to another to start a whole new life. And they don't have any really money or, they just have the clothes that they're wearing, right? So that's what the story of this card is. But today, what I'm seeing this as is achieving a state of somebody who never gives up. Nine of Wands, the secret. This is the secret. You've got to mentally detach, right? Because this gets to be too much. I'll speak for myself. I was so overwhelmed this morning by thoughts of the holidays. And that I have not been in communication with my family, even when my brother died. My younger brother, Mitch, died back in April of this year, April of 2023. And even during that time, I didn't really have much communication with my family. And let me be clear, I used to work with my family. Like, we had a ministry together. And so it's like it went from being like inseparable to me not having any contact with them. I'm the one who chose that, by the way. So let me say, Nine of Wands, it's not an easy energy. And that's why we have to learn to detach from it, right? Because it's too hot. It's too much fire. If you're exhausted and you're tired of fighting and you feel like you cannot take one more step forward in any area of your life, this could even be with like dating. Maybe you feel like, I was watching this video the other day of people literally talking about the fact that they are so burnt out on dating apps that they literally, it's like people are having like reactions to this stuff. It's like people feel like they can't do the whole rigmarole again. Like it's too emotionally challenging, Nine of Wands, to like reveal your whole self to a person again, like again and again and again. You're doing it like 20 times. It's like people feel like they literally can't do it again. Nine of Wands. It's that feeling of like, it's right on the edge of like completely giving up, right? Because the Nine of Wands in the negative can be like, I can't do this. But in the positive, it's an energy of pushing forward no matter what. So this is why we're talking about the Six of Swords with this mental detachment. It's like releasing outcomes, not getting too attached to any one way of something happening, not even getting too attached to your own identity. Like the reason why just using this as an example again, the reason why I felt like I couldn't even film this episode today is because it's so emotionally challenging knowing that everything that I currently am, which to me is the highest vibrational state I have ever been in, sitting in front of you today, this is the best I've ever been. This is the most confident I've ever been. This is the strongest I've ever been. I feel like I'm more of a leader than I've ever been, when at first I felt like I wasn't even counted worthy to exist on this planet. After my faith deconstructed back at the end of 2021, it was actually a spiritual awakening. It was not, I don't even call it a deconstruction. I'm using the word deconstruction because that's a searchable word. If you type in, it's a searchable keyword. If you type in Christian deconstruction, that's what it's being called. That's what the movement is called. I would call it spiritual enlightenment, because what happened to me was that I was shown a higher perspective, and I went with that. And I had to, which is part of the Six of Swords, I had to sacrifice everything I was. I had to sacrifice my identity to go with what I knew, King of Wands, I knew was correct. I knew what I was being shown. I had to choose myself, and that's part of the King of Wands. You need to stand in your conviction, which can also be part of the Nine of Wands. Stand in this, all the power that you have left in the Nine of Wands, and go forward anyway. So, but that is a hard state to stay in. I've been in a state of fight or flight since I was a child. That's why I have CPTSD, because CPTSD, it's called complex post-traumatic stress disorder. That's what the C is. It's complex. The word complex in the diagnosis is basically just saying it's prolonged, it's long-term PTSD. With PTSD, it's basically like, an event happens to you that gives you PTSD, like you get in a car accident, you come back from war, etc. All of the classic examples we can give. The book A Body Keeps a Score is a really good book if you want to learn about trauma in the body. Because even if you're far, far away from certain situations that give you PTSD, it doesn't really matter. If it's caught in your body, it's caught in your body, and we have to work through this stuff. It doesn't just magically go away. So The Body Keeps a Score is a really good book if you want to dive further into that from, actual doctors and not just like a girl on the internet. So anyways, back to what I was saying here, it's like it can become so overwhelming to be in this constant state of fight or flight with the Nine of Wands that your mind, your brain, it actually needs to detach. It needs to go into the Six of Swords. It needs to just be like, you know what, no matter what, I'm just using this as an example again, no matter what happens with this episode today, even though I feel like I'm literally bearing my soul and I'm revealing stuff that I would 100% keep secret. I'm a very private person. I do not normally show myself like this. This feels like I'm actually going against my nature by being like open about the things I'm being open about here. Yet I am 100% positive. I am that positive. It's not even like 97%. It's like I am 100% positive. It's 12/21. Those are mirrored numbers. I'm 100% positive. I've looked at it from every side. I spent 2 years in freaking torment about doing this podcast. Should I reveal it? Should I not reveal it? That's what this episode is about. It's like this constant state of like, you burn yourself out in the Nine of Wands, right? It's like, who can be in battle mode consistently for 32 years? That's where I've been, right? And I'm not saying this so that you guys are like, oh my God, Missy, are you okay? Like, I'm not trying to like freak you guys out either, but I'm just saying like it is a real thing. Like sometimes I just like stare at the wall, and that to me is worth $5 million, because it's like having those few minutes of me just like sitting with my like I don't even know what I have on out there right now. It's like, it's the Schumann resonance that I just like put up on my TV, and I just sit there just in this silence, and it feels like you could give me that, or you could give me $2 million, and I'd be like, I think I'm going to take the 5 minutes of peace, because, and that's what the Six of Swords is. It's a mental reprieve. It's like, but I've got to do this, and I've got to do it this way, and I've got to do it now, and all these people are relying on me, and all these people are against me even, and I've done this, and I've done that, and I'm like, chronic overthinkers. The mind translates to the body. That's why trauma gets trapped in the body, because it's like, it's a mental thing, but it turns into wands. It turns into body. It turns into like I have like back issues and stuff because my body's like so tensed up because of these like responses of my body, right? Where I have these panic attacks. I have these moments where it's like I'm like hyperventilating. It's hard to breathe. And yet, that's why I'm making this episode. Even with all of that, it's like I'm grateful for my life. Like I am happy to be here. Like I believe in hope. Six of Swords. This is a card of hope. This is getting to calmer shores. I believe that that life, it's a mental construct. Reality is a mental construct. It's like whatever we believe is. So even if I feel like this Nine of Wands in my physical body, the way to diffuse that for me has been to just detach, right? It's like I can't detach. I understand that more than anybody, and I really mean that. Like last night I was just like lying awake in my bed, like I couldn't sleep because just all of these raging thoughts, which all this fire, right? And I want to move forward here because this is my next point, and it's a really important point. But this mental detachment, in any way you can possibly do it, I would do it. Right? We need to ask Aquarius how they do it. Aquarius, what's up, Aquarius? How do you do this whole like detachment thing? Because, like, yeah. No, but seriously, we've got to find ways to get a mental break. Because if we can get a mental break, it will translate into the body. And then our body will feel more at peace. Like, we'll feel more grounded. We'll feel more creative. Because how can you create something out of the Nine of Wands? You're like all tensed up. How are you supposed to create your freaking magnum opus when you're fighting for your life on the Nine of Wands? And that's the state I've been in for many years. And I've just continued to blast forward anyway. And that's what our next card is the Chariot. It's a card of blasting forward. This is my main advice, and this is the advice that I give myself every single day when I wake up in the morning. And I feel, especially on the days where I feel like I can't even get out of bed, because like I said, my body gets very exhausted from these symptoms that I have, especially ever since I put up boundaries, which Nine of Wands can be a card of boundaries, with my family a couple years ago. So this is my main advice. Detach as much as you possibly can mentally. And then blast forward with all of your heart and all of your emotions with the Chariot. Because the Six of Swords is a mental card. It's a mental energy. Swords is thoughts. Swords is our mind. So as much as we can kind of, like, imagine just being in this boat and kind of just floating out into the water. Like, kind of let your mind detach. That's what meditation is, right? But it doesn't even have to be spiritual like that. Sometimes I just, like, zone out. And I literally am just like when I have persistent, intrusive thoughts that like will not end, will not stop. Like this morning, I really mean it, you guys. I was like, I cannot film this episode. And it's like I hit this roadblock with the Nine of Wands where I truly, honest to God, was like, It's hard to put into words because it's energetic, and we're going to get to the Five of Wands. That's our next card after the Chariot. Let me touch on this for a second. I think what makes a lot of us so tired feeling, because I see a lot of people's comments talking about how exhausted they are, and I feel that way as well. Absolutely, right? That's just the energy in the world. But on top of that, there's other energy at play here, especially if you're very energetically sensitive, which a lot of us are, right? A lot of us are empaths. A lot of us can feel and even read energy. A lot of us know where this energy is coming from even. We see flashes of people's faces in our heads or what have you, however the gift works for you. I will know where energy is coming from. Like, for example, with this Five of Wands, the reason why I was having such a hard time this morning and I had to blast forward to do this episode, it's not that I don't want to do the show. I actually love doing the show. Like, as I'm talking right now, look how fast I'm talking. I feel like I am filled with so much freaking energy, dude. I feel like I'm straight channeling. Like, I'm not using my brain. I'm just blah, 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 blah. I also have a Mercury in Leo, so that doesn't hurt, right? But regardless, what I'm trying to say here with the Five of Wands and the Nine of Wands, that's a lot of energy, that's a lot of fire. Five of Wands to me a lot of the time shows up in my readings as energy. It's like all of these different people's energy as well. There's 5 people on this card and they're all fighting with the sticks, right? The way that I'm seeing this today, and I see it this way often, is it's this energy just swirling around the aura. And especially, just to make it a personal example, Thanksgiving is tomorrow, Christmas is coming up, the holidays are, people get crazy around the holidays, right? So I know for a fact that my family is very upset with me. I've gotten texts and things like that. So anyways, my point is that when I woke up this morning, I knew that this was not my energy, Five of Wands. I knew it was not my energy. I knew that I was dealing with this resistance. It shows up a lot as resistance. And I actually got to the point earlier today with this Five of Wands. This energy was so intense. I can hear people. I can see conversations. I can hear what people are saying. Sometimes I hesitate if I should say this stuff. Like I can see people. I can see what's going on. Like I've always had those gifts since I was a child. Like I've been able to remote view for many, many years. And don't worry, I'm not doing anything funky to you guys. I don't use this gift to be a voyeur in any way. But it's like when there's this energy swirling around me and it's so intrusive, it's so overwhelming to the point that I can't even think my own thoughts. And I know it's not my energy. I know I'm not stressed or anything. Like, I know that I'm just, like, I woke up, I was thinking last night, like, oh yeah, I can't wait to film my episode tomorrow. So I know it's not me. So regardless, what I do is I kind of look into the energy. I can kind of look, like I try to look at the Five of Wands. What's going on in there? So I'll like zone into it and I'll take a peek on what's going on in there. I'll see people's faces. I'll see conversations. I'll hear words. You know what I'm saying? So I understood what it was today for me, right? So this is my advice. Chariot. Blast through that shit. Okay? Chariot is a card of control. And it's emotional control. I could easily just fall apart today, if I'm honest with you. I know I'm an earth sign. I know we have cold, dead hearts. but I'm actually a very emotional person. And so for me, I can drown in these feelings of guilt and shame and loneliness and sadness and oh my God, like I'm not seeing my family at the holidays and stuff, where I used to be like a family person before. Cancer energy, speaking of, 4th house is like all about family, right? Again, not saying this stuff so you guys are like, oh my God, that's sad. Like, yes, it is sad. And a lot of people relate to this. That's why I'm talking about it. right? And even if you have like a wonderful family and you're gonna have a great holiday, and if you're listening to this way after Thanksgiving, just take it where it applies. This could be anything. This could be your friend's birthday party next week that you're estranged from and you're sad that you're not gonna go. You know what I'm saying? My point is, you can either drown in this stuff or you can glide over it with the Six of Swords. Step 1, detach, right? If it persists like it did to me today, Five of Wands, where I could not even think my own thoughts because my mind was so filled with all these different like voices and shit. Like, I literally hear people talking. Like, it's that clear to me. Like, I can zone in and I will, like, word for word, like, know what people are saying about me. I have a 12th house stellium as well, so you know what I mean. But anyways, regardless, I don't even suggest that. I'm just saying that's what I do when I'm like, all right, now I've got to actually target this energy because now it's starting to piss me off. So then I gotta start doing my freaking routine, my cleansing routine, right? I gotta go through, I spent the first 3 hours of my day, I'm just being honest with you guys. I spent the first 3 hours of my day getting this energy off of my aura, Five of Wands, right? It already takes enough like confidence and stuff for me to do what I'm doing. And I'm just using myself as an example, guys. Apply this like to your own life. Like let this be your story. Right? It takes everything in us to just live this life. Right? Even if we have a good life and all our bills are paid, like we have billionaires sitting on yachts right now having an existential crisis, thinking about like what is forever, like I did when I was 2 years old. It doesn't matter if you have $1 billion. Everybody, like, nobody gets out of here alive, is my point, right? Okay, so back to this. Actually, this is step 1. When you're in the Nine of Wands and you feel like you can't go forward, first of all, King of Wands. Gain all of the confidence that you have in yourself. Remember who you are. Remember what matters to you. And gather yourself, right? It's like, if you're in the bathroom and your mascara is like running down your face and then you like fix your mascara and you go back out to the party. It's like that sort of a vibe, right? Step 2. Mentally detach. Detach from outcomes. Like, don't think about like, oh, well, what if I fail? Or what if this happens? Or to the best of your ability, detach mentally. Step 3. When you are then in that state, you have your confidence, you remember who you are, you feel tired, Nine of Wands, right? But you're getting yourself in the energy of, I'm going to go forward no matter what, Nine of Wands. It is a warrior energy where it's like you gather your strength, King of Wands, you mentally detach, Six of Swords, and you prepare yourself to blast, right? With the Chariot. The Chariot is a card of full self-control, where you could just completely fall apart, or you could gather all of the emotions that you possess, all of your feelings, all of your heart, and channel that energy. Like all the pain that I have felt all of these years, that I never felt good enough, that I had narcissistic abusers in my life, that people made me feel like I literally did not deserve to be on this planet. Taking all of that and blasting through this resistance, including my own damn thoughts, Five of Wands, and blasting through this energy like sticks. Like they're just sticks that will just break. When you blast forward with all of your emotions, with all of your heart, with all of that pain, channel it. Channel it through you. Like let yourself feel all of that. And then you will blast right through these sticks. It's like kindling wood, Five of Wands. It's like nothing. It's like nothing can stop you. Literally nothing and no one can stop you when you blast forward in this chariot energy. And then finally we have this Page of Pentacles. It's this feeling of like after the storm, right? It's like we're coming to the end of this episode now, and this is our final card. And it's like I spent hours getting myself in a state for me to even convey a message on my own channel, on my own podcast, for all the reasons that we talked about before, right? And now that we have like blasted forward, like what's left is this fresh, it's like after the rain, the air it's so clean, it's so fresh. The Page of Pentacles, to me, it has this feeling of like, wow, I feel hopeful. It was tough, 9 of Wands. I had to gather all of my confidence, all of my strength. I had to let go of outcomes, detach from thought patterns, detach from people and old ways of life and behaviors. I had to put myself first and blast forward with the Chariot, blast through every obstacle, 5 of Wands, and anything and anyone, including myself, that stood in my way. And now that I've done that, and this could literally just be you getting through the day. It doesn't have to be like, wow, I finished writing my book, which I've been trying to write for the past 10 freaking years, dude. All right, so we're getting there. We're getting there. They've been talking to me about a book since I was a minister. So anyways, we blast through all of that. It's like the Page of Pentacles today, for me, it's like coming out the other side of a storm. See all the yellow in this card, Page of Pentacles? It's like the sun. It's like the sun coming out from the clouds after it's been raining for a long time. And it's just this feeling of like, wow, I feel good. I really did something today. Again, it could just be like, wow, you had a good day. You got through, you went to work, you came home, you made dinner. You're sitting on the couch, you're about to go to bed and about to stand up and walk to your bedroom, and you just have this moment of like, this is my life, This is the way that I decided for my life to be, right? It's like this Page of Pentacles is kind of just this moment of like, I made it. I did it. I lived it. This is me. This is me and my authenticity. It's a real fresh, clearing feeling of like the sun coming out after the storm, and the air is fresh, the air is clean. It's not easy, right? It's not easy, but let me say this. What choice do we have? 9 of Wands. You're either gonna continue. You're going to feel like this regardless. If you feel 9 of Wands, you feel 9 of Wands. If you feel self-defeatist, if you feel like exhausted, if you feel like these patterns of abuse continue to happen, it's like, oh, I'm dating my father, or I'm repeating these patterns in my life, or no matter how hard I try to get out of debt, it keeps piling up, or whatever bullshit thing that we're dealing with on the 9 of Wands that got you to this point of feeling like you're right on the edge of either giving up or like, I don't even know. Like the 9 of Wands is a challenging energy to be in for a long period of time. So for those of you who are resonating with all of this, yes, it's challenging, but we feel like this anyway. So the best thing to do is to take control. The chariot. Take control over your life. Take control over your emotions. Take control over your autonomy. Yeah, but all these people are against me and all these things are trying to come against me. And, I was at a disadvantage. And have you ever read the book Outliers? That's literally Malcolm Gladwell's point in the book, is that, like, it's a great book. But I'm running out of time here, so I gotta close. But my point is that it's like you can be at a disadvantage in every possible way. How many stories are there of people who have overcome every freaking obstacle? It's eat or be eaten. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm not, if that's not your mindset, it's not your mindset. That's the mindset I have had to adopt to get through life. And to get as far as I've gotten with the cards that I was dealt, right? So if you're 9 of Wands, the best thing to do is to take control and become a leader of your own life. I love you guys. It's been Missy Gordon, the Metamystic here. Thank you so much for those of you who are part of this work that I'm doing here. You can also always listen to this podcast. Remember, you can listen to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts if you want to listen to it like while you're in the car or at the gym or folding laundry or whatever. You can always find me at The Metamystic Show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can also purchase merch to support the channel. I will put all the links down below. You can also donate if you want to help me upgrade my equipment. I'm trying to get a new camera soon. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much. I'd love to see your comments, your likes, your subscribes if you want to continue watching more episodes of this show. They air every single Friday at 12 p.m. EST. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next one.
Seem like a dream. I was born with questions the philosophers seek, but they don't belong to me. Questions and answers. Serpent is under my feet. Questions and answers. Girls gotta know. Eternity, what's for